The Lament of Maglor. A whisper of ghosts.
I confess to you, my friends, at times when the deep hours of night press upon Minas Tirith and the halls are hushed, something strange occurs. I forget that the figures within these scrolls belong to ages long past. Their grief, their choices, their wounds rise from the parchment as though they stood behind me, breathing down my neck, gazing over my shoulder. And among all those shades of history, one returns to me more than any other, not as a hero sung in halls, nor as a villain to be reviled, but as a wound that never healed. His name was Maglor, son of Fëanor, the greatest singer of the Noldor, and the most sorrowful of them all. Tonight, let me tell you of him, of Maglor, who bound himself with an oath at unmade kingdoms, and who, in the end, consigned himself to the longest solitude of any child of Ilúvatar.
The Scroll Insult.
Last night, in a hidden alcove behind the Chronicles of Arnor, I discovered a sealed scroll. Whoever entombed it there must have wished it lost. When I drew it forth, a cloud of dust scattered, and with it a scent, salt, ancient dry salt, as though it had slept beside the sea for 1,000 years. The parchment was brittle, not merely with age, but with grief. Its margins bore blurred ink, as though dissolved by tears. There were even faint impressions of fingers, pressed so hard into the vellum that despair itself seemed written into its very fibers. I held it, and I swear it trembled.
Maglor before the oath.
But who was Maglor before sorrow clothed him? Not a phantom, not yet a symbol of lament. He was a prince of the Noldor, and above all, a master of song. His harp rang with such purity that even the Valar themselves paused to listen. His voice, they said, could calm the sea's unrest or draw tears from stone. He was not born for war or wrath. He was born for beauty, and in that very devotion lay the seed of his undoing. For beauty, when chained to pride, may become a tyrant more cruel than steel.
The Oath of Fëanor.
The Oath of Fëanor. Even now, to speak it aloud chills the marrow. Maglor swore it with his father and brothers to reclaim the Silmarils, the 3 jewels that bore within them the light of the 2 trees, to pursue them to the world's end against any who withheld them, Valar, elf, or man. From that oath flowed rivers of ruin. It drove the Noldor from Valinor, it drowned Alqualonde in blood, it shattered Doriath, it brought fire and murder to the havens of Sirion.
Each time, Maglor's heart cracked anew, but the chain of the oath bound tighter, unyielding as iron.
The doom fulfilled.
At last came the war of wrath. The Valar descended, the hosts of Morgoth were broken, and the black foe was chained beyond the walls of the world. From his crown the Silmarils were taken. And so Maglor and his brother Maedhros stood at the end of all things. They had lost their kin, their people, their very honor. Yet the oath still burned. To abandon it was torment, to fulfill it was despair. And so, in defiance of gods and doom alike, they stole the jewels. But the Silmarils would not be born by hands stained with kinslaying. Fire lanced their flesh, burning not only skin but soul. Maedhros, racked with agony, cast himself and his jewel into a chasm of flame. Maglor, staggering in anguish, hurled his Silmaril into the sea. And thus he became the last, the final bearer of his family's doom.
The foster father of orphans.
Yet his tale does not end in fire and water. It takes a turn more human and more tragic. For after the ruin of Sirion, Maglor came upon two orphan children, Elrond and Elros, the half-elven twins, sons of a house he himself had shattered. He took them in, he raised them, he loved them. Can you imagine it? The once princely minstrel of Valinor, scarred and broken, walking a desolate shore with two children's hands in his palms still aflame from the Silmaril's bite, teaching Elrond to pluck a harp with fingers that could scarcely play his own. There is a story, not written, but whispered, that young Elrond once asked him, "Will the stars ever shine again as in your songs?" And Maglor, whose music had once stirred constellations, could not answer, for he knew it was his own oath that had dimmed the heavens.
The long loneliness.
Time passed. Elros chose the doom of men and became the first king of Númenor. Elrond remained with the elves and would one day become the wise lord of Rivendell. But Maglor, he was left alone, forever. For though elves do not wither as men, in the marred world of Middle-earth their forms grow thin, their bodies wear like glass. In time they fade, lingering in a twilight between flesh and spirit. They are not dead, but neither wholly of this world. Homeless, and Maglor was doubly homeless, banished from Aman, bereft of kin, bound by a doom no Valar would lift. His song, once the fairest gift of the Noldor, turned to lament, echoing across empty shores.
The ghost who sings.
Even now,
There are whispers. Sailors of Belfalos speak of a voice in stormy nights, a melody so sorrowful that strong men weep, though they cannot tell why. Fishermen on the Anduin say the waves sometimes carry a harmony that chills the blood. Wanderers along lonely coasts report a sudden grief, as if the sea itself mourned. Tolkien himself wrote that some with hearts attuned might still hear him, Maglor, singing beside the surf. Not seen, not touched, only heard. His lament has become so vast, so saturated with pain, that it pierces the veil between worlds.
Reflection.
Tell me, my friends, do we not feel a shard of Maglor within ourselves? Do we not each in our measure carry regrets that burn, mistakes that echo? His is an ancient tragedy, yet it is also our own. To be bound by choices that cannot be undone. To long for a beauty we ourselves have darkened. And yet, Maglor is not merely a warning. Perhaps he is also a sign of hope. For though he wrought horror, though his hands were steeped in blood, still within him lived the power to love, to foster, to sing. Even across the gulf of his ruin, some spark endured. If even he, kinslayer, oath-breaker, exile, could preserve a note of beauty, then perhaps none of us are beyond redemption. Perhaps no guilt must last forever. Perhaps no loneliness is final.
Thank you, my friends, for spending this time with me and listening to the tale of Maglor. What do you think of his fate? Do you see him as a tragic soul, or as one forever cursed? Share your thoughts below. I would love to read them. If you enjoyed this journey through the old lore, leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel so you won't miss the next episodes. Many more stories of Middle-earth await us. Until then, may your road be lit by starlight.